What's up, guys? It is January 3rd, 2025, and today I just want to give a little tour of what's growing in my garden, my reasoning for orienting the things that I've oriented, and just my choice of different vegetables that I'm growing here in Zone 9B in Tampa, Florida. So let's get into it. So one important thing to consider is the sun. Right now, the way it's oriented is that way is south, that's north, that's west, and that's east. So the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, but during the winter months, the sun gets lower in the southern sky. It doesn't perfectly go overhead like it kind of does in the summertime. So that's something to account for, because were I to plant all of my taller plants on the south side of my bed, right now, the way the sun is angled, it's kind of low in the sky right now, even though it's like 9 o'clock in the morning. It's gonna cast a big shadow on the rest of my bed, if that makes sense. If the sun is lower in the southern sky, if it was directly overhead, it wouldn't matter too much. But like I said, because of that, I planted all of my shorter stuff in the front here, in the south side of my bed, and left all of my taller plants on the north side of my bed. So that is something really important to consider, because last year I didn't do that. I had some taller stuff right here, and for majority of the day, I had most of my plants covered in shade, and that takes away from the energy that it's gonna draw from the sun to grow, obviously. So these are small but very important things to take into consideration. So just do a little bit of planning to account for that. Now let's get into the plants. This is Tokyo Bacana cabbage. It is technically a cabbage, but it resembles a lettuce in many ways. So I'm kind of growing it because it's a little bit more hardy than lettuce. And if and when it gets a little bit hotter, these things are gonna last very well compared to lettuce that's gonna start bolting. These small little guys right here and right here are calendula, which are a beautiful medicinal plant. They usually are yellow, and people use them to make different teas out of them. And I heard a lot of people use it to they use it to make topical things like different salves and lotions. It's very good for eczema. Right here, I just got a normal traditional Genovese type basil. It's gonna be good for different pestos. And right behind it, I got more of that holy basil that you guys saw in the making herbal teas video. I can't get enough of this basil. It's just so beautifully aromatic, and it just makes amazing teas. In the southeast corner of my bed, I have some Swiss chard that is slowly growing, but it's growing very well. It's very healthy. Swiss chard comes in a bunch of different colors, ranging from like yellows to whites to reds and pinks. Very beautiful, very healthy. So I got 2 of those right there. Red Russian kale is beautiful because it has these just red veins just going down the center that really nicely contrast with the rest of the green plant. One thing to note about kales and different brassicas is that its leaves are super hydrophobic, and water pretty much forms like a little droplet that rolls off really easily. That's just a cool characteristic of brassicas. See if I can disturb it a little bit, you can see. Kind of hard to see, but water just rolls off of it. So we got 3 of those lovely red Russian kales growing next to my Swiss chard. Over here, I got a bunch of different carrots on the east side of my bed. As you can see, I got some ones that are a couple weeks mature over here on the left. And then I got some ones that I sort of filled in. I put new seeds in a couple weeks later to fill in the gaps. So that's a method called succession sowing, meaning that you don't get, all of your carrots all at once. You can sort of spread out the harvest. So I got a nice little row. They're nice and thinned out, and I also got some more growing right there. So these will be ready probably in a couple months, and these will be ready in a couple months plus a couple weeks. You really want to thin out your carrots. The general rule is to have like a finger's length in between each carrot. Otherwise, they're going to be competing for space. So just keep that in mind whenever you're seeding carrots. Right now, these guys are too small really to thin out. I'll let them grow maybe for another week or so, and then I'll start thinning them out. In the north side of my bed, I have my one tomato plant. It's an indeterminate tomato, meaning that it's just gonna continuously grow. It does not stop. And so I made a trellis out of that I just attached a couple strings to, and basically cut away the rest of the shoots, because these tomato plants, they wanna grow a bunch of different shoots. And basically I just limited it to 4. And we're getting some pretty good clusters of tomatoes. These are pink bumblebee variety. So I'm excited, I've never had that before, some pink bumblebee. Tomatoes will produce these things called suckers, and this one is a very small one. And basically that's a whole other vine that was gonna grow its own cluster of tomatoes. And if you have enough space, you know, you can let the whole thing just bush out just wildly and however you want. But for my purposes, I want to just train it up 4 vines and just have it concentrate all of its production on 4 vines. So in order to do so, we kind of remove these suckers whenever they're small, just like that. And in order to know if it's a sucker or not, you're gonna have like your main stem right here growing, and then you'll have a sun leaf, which is just like a normal leaf. And usually it's growing sort of like in that little armpit area, just like right in between there. And if you let it mature a little bit more, you'll notice that it has a different structure than the normal sun leaves. This pretty looking plant looks kind of like a bunch of different lily pads. It's called nasturtium. It's an amazingly beautiful plant, like I said, and because it produces these edible flowers that you can garnish your salads with. If you ever go to a fancy restaurant, you've probably seen them on expensive salads. And you can also eat these lily pad looking leaves. They have a very peppery taste to them, and they're really good to make little wraps out of, or you can just kind of add it to your salad for taste. Look how they dance in the wind. Right next to the nasturtium right there, we have a row of sugar snap peas. These things are amazing, and basically I'm gonna train them to grow up that trellis all the way up. And underneath the trellis, I put some garlic chives. I've never grown garlic chives before, but I read that they can take partial shade, and you know, this area is going to get shaded once the sugar snap peas grow. So I'm going to see how they fare underneath the trellis. And in this middle empty section, I'm going to grow some broccoli. I'm just waiting for the nursery that I'm buying it from to put it online and to grow it. Alrighty guys, so that was the update for the garden for the new year. I'm super excited about this iteration of the garden. Like I said, I took a bunch of time planning it out just to make sure that everything has enough space and nothing was gonna get shaded out like it did last year. That was kind of disappointing. Coming to the garden every day, seeing plants that could be getting more sun, not getting the sun that they had. So that's what proper planning provides, is just more efficiency. I also grow to where I can get something every time I come to the garden. That's sort of my idea, is that if I come either once a week or once a month, I'm gonna have something to harvest. You know, some people, they like to grow a lot of things and they just come to check on it and they don't get to reap anything from the garden, and I don't think that's fun. So now that it's producing, I'm gonna have a lot of cabbage to produce, you know, to harvest from. I'm gonna eventually have a lot of flowers to be cutting every week. Obviously I have a lot of kale and a lot of Swiss chard. Carrots, the fact that I'm growing it in succession, which is you plant carrot seeds one week and you wait a couple weeks to plant more carrot seeds in another location. And so that every couple weeks, once they're mature and ready to be harvested, you can have fresh carrots every week as opposed to just growing them all at once. Knowing where the sun is traveling in the sky is very, very important. I didn't know that the sun gets lower in the southern sky during the winter time. So if you guys have any questions or any comments, or if you want to share how your garden is organized, please leave that in the comments below. Let's start a conversation. So we'll see you guys in the next video. Last thing I want to say, guys, is get yourselves one of these. It's a little holder to carry your tools, like your clippers. This thing comes so much in handy when I'm looking. I misplace things all the time. So having a little place to just cover your, to carry your scissors is ideal. You look like an expert gardener.